Have you ever felt completely invisible? Like your own life was a story nobody bothered to read anymore? For Margaret Finch, that story ended in a driveway, in a wheelchair, being told by her only son that she was no longer welcome. But the very next day, she found a key to a door she never knew existed. And when she used it, the bank manager turned pale, his computer screen glowing with a number that made her entire world, and everything she thought she knew about her marriage, shatter into a million pieces. What would you do if you discovered your entire life was a carefully constructed lie, and that the truth made you richer than you could possibly imagine? Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below right now. And if you know what it feels like to be underestimated, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories about hidden strength. The wheelchair squeaked a protest against the pristine concrete as I rolled up to my son's front door, my pride crumbling with each desperate push of the wheels. David took one look at me sitting there with my pathetic suitcase and said the words that shattered what was left of my heart. "Mom, you can't stay here." But the next morning, rummaging through the wreckage of my old life, I found my late husband Thomas's old business card tucked in the back of a drawer. A card for a bank I'd never heard of. And suddenly, everything changed when a man named Jonathan Maxwell, senior private banker, saw the account number, nearly knocked over his leather chair, and rushed to help me with a kind of reverence I hadn't seen in years. 8 months ago, I thought my biggest problem was learning to live on Social Security after Thomas died. Funny how life has a way of laughing at your assumptions. The accident happened on a Tuesday. Isn't it always a Tuesday when your world falls apart? I was coming home from the grocery store, arms full of bags because I was too proud to use the cart like other old ladies. A sudden Florida downpour had turned the sidewalks into glass. One moment I was walking, thinking about how I'd stretched the week's budget to include Thomas's favorite cookies for his memorial dinner. The next, I was on the ground, my right hip screaming, oranges rolling into traffic like tiny, absurd escapees. The paramedic, a kid young enough to be my grandson, kept saying, "Ma'am, try to stay calm," while I lay there calculating the cost of an ambulance ride in my head. 3 surgeries and 4 months of rehabilitation later, here I was. Margaret Finch, 68 years old, former office manager, current wheelchair-bound realist. The doctor said I might walk again with enough physical therapy, but therapy costs money. Money that had vanished with Thomas's last breath and my ability to work. Our house, the one we'd bought 30 years ago when David was in high school, became my beautiful prison. Everything was upstairs, the bedroom, the bathroom, Thomas's office. I'd been sleeping on the living room couch for months, a humiliating routine of struggle and dependency. My saintly neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, helped me shower once a week. That was the highlight. My son David had visited exactly twice since the accident. The first time, he spent 20 minutes explaining how swamped he was with work and his kids' travel soccer. The second time last month, he brought his wife, Chloe. She spent the visit scrolling her phone, her nose wrinkling slightly at the faint smell of mothballs and loneliness. "It's just so still in here, Margaret," she'd said. I'd finally swallowed the last of my pride yesterday and called him. "David, I need help," I'd said, hating the watery tremor in my voice. "What kind of help, Mom?" His voice had that careful, neutral tone people use when they're already looking for the exit. "I can't manage here anymore. I need somewhere to stay. Just temporarily. Until I figure things out." The silence stretched so thin I could hear the void humming. "Mom, I'll talk to Chloe. Let me call you back." That was 18 hours ago. No return call. So, I did something the old Margaret would never have done. I packed a suitcase, called a cab I couldn't afford, and showed up at their door unannounced. If my own son wouldn't answer my call, maybe seeing me, his mother, broken and desperate, would stir some memory of duty, of love. Now, sitting in their immaculate driveway, I understood that hope was just another word for delusion. Their house was a sprawling monument to suburban success. A 3-car garage, a lawn so green it looked painted, a door so shiny I could see my own defeated reflection in it. My wheelchair felt like a shopping cart at a royal wedding. I rang the bell. From inside, I could hear the sounds of a life I'd lost. Children laughing, Chloe calling something about homework, a TV game show blaring. Normalcy. David opened the door. He was in his weekend uniform, designer khakis, a polo shirt with a tiny logo. His expression wasn't surprise or concern. It was irritation. Pure, unvarnished irritation, as if I were a persistent pollster interrupting his Sunday. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "I came to see my family," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "And to ask for help." He glanced nervously over his shoulder. Behind him, Chloe appeared, arms crossed, a smile frozen on her perfectly made-up face. My grandchildren peeked around the corner before being shooed away. "You can't just show up like this," David said, stepping outside and pulling the door mostly closed. "I called you yesterday. I explained. And I said I'd call you back." He ran a hand through his hair. "This isn't how we handle things, Mom. Handle things. As if I were a logistical issue. I can't live in my house anymore, David. Everything's upstairs. I need help. And you'll get help," he said, his voice taking on that soothing, patronizing tone I now realized he used to shut people down. But showing up unannounced isn't the answer. Chloe has the week planned. The kids have activities. We have a system that had no subroutine for a disabled mother. I'm not asking to move in forever. A week. Maybe 2. Just until I can find a solution. His jaw tightened. "Mom, you know how Chloe feels about unexpected disruptions to our household flow. Disruptions. I was no longer his mother. I was an unexpected disruption. I helped you buy this house," I said quietly. The words slipped out, laced with a bitterness that shocked me. His face flushed. "That was a loan, and we paid it back. A loan." The $25,000 Thomas had withdrawn from his retirement fund early, incurring penalties because David needed to get his foot in the door. They'd paid back $5,000 before the payments mysteriously stopped, and the topic became a silent ghost at family dinners. "Of course you did," I said, because arguing was pointless. The front door opened wider. "Margaret," Chloe chirped, her smile not reaching her eyes. What a surprise. She was dressed for a casual brunch that probably cost more than my weekly groceries. "Hello, Chloe. David tells me you're having some challenges with your living situation." Challenges? As if I were a crossword puzzle. "I was hoping to stay for a few days, while I sort things out." Her smile held, but her eyes turned to ice. "Oh, honey, I wish we could. But with the kids' schedules, soccer, coding camp, piano, we're just sprinting from dawn till dusk. Besides," she added, waving a hand dismissively, "the guest room is a storage disaster. Has been for months. You know how it is." I looked at their massive home, with its numerous curtained windows, and knew she was lying. But calling her out would only give them another reason to resent me. David shifted. "Mom, maybe we can help you find a place. There are some nice assisted living facilities." "Assisted living costs $4,000 a month minimum," I said flatly. "I get $1,100 from Social Security." "There are programs," Chloe chimed in helpfully. "Government assistance. I'm sure someone in your situation qualifies." "Someone in my situation. A burden. A case number. What about home health aides?" David offered, clearly brainstorming ways to solve the Margaret problem from a distance. "Someone to come in? That costs money too, David. Money I don't have." The silence was a physical weight. 3 people in a driveway worth $500,000, and my own child couldn't see a way to help me. "Look," David finally sighed. "Let me talk to Chloe tonight. We'll figure something out." But his eyes were already vacant. The conversation filed away as handled. "Don't worry about it," I said, my hand fumbling for the wheelchair's joystick. "I'll manage." "Mom, don't be like that." "Like what?" "Realistic." I backed down the driveway. Through the large front window, I saw them in the kitchen, Chloe talking rapidly, hands waving, David nodding. Probably developing a unified strategy for the mom situation. The cab ride home cost $40 I didn't have. The driver, a kind man with a soft accent, helped me in and out without a word. As we drove past rows of happy houses, I wondered when I had become the kind of person people couldn't wait to get rid of. That night on my couch, staring at the water-stained ceiling, the truth arrived cold and clear. I was utterly alone. Chapter 3. The Card in the Drawer. The next morning, I woke with a strange, hollow clarity. My hip throbbed. My bank account held $241. But my mind was sharp, focused by the pure, undiluted despair of the day before. I wheeled into Thomas's office, a place I'd avoided since his death 3 years ago. It was a time capsule of him. His reading glasses on the desk, a faded mug from a long-defunct hardware store, stacks of papers filed in his own mysterious way. I started with the top drawer, telling myself I was finally getting his affairs in order. It was a monument to my practical, slightly scatterbrained husband. Tax returns from 2010, warranty for a VCR, hundreds of rubber bands. The middle drawer held old checkbooks, expired coupons, a lifetime supply of dried-out pens. But at the very back, my fingers brushed against something thick and stiff. I pulled it out. A business card. Heavy, cream-colored stock. Embossed with elegant dark blue lettering. Pinnacle Private Banking. Discretionary Wealth Management and Family Office Services. Jonathan Maxwell, Senior Private Banker. On the back, in Thomas's cramped, familiar handwriting, *AE, #PMBB, 7749TF. Emergency access only, *. Emergency access only. I stared at those words until they blurred. If being disabled, destitute, and abandoned by your family wasn't an emergency, then the word had no meaning. Thomas and I had banked at First Community Federal for 40 years. We had a checking account, a puny savings account, a safe deposit box for our wills. This sounded like something for people with multiple homes and last names that sounded like law firms. I'd never heard him mention it. Not once. The smart thing would be to call. Make an appointment. But after yesterday, I was done being smart in the way that meant quiet and compliant. I called a cab. Can you imagine that moment? Holding a secret from the person you shared a bed with for decades? Margaret was about to find out just how deep that secret went. But before we get to the bank, I need to ask you something. Have you ever found something that made you question everything you thought you knew about someone you loved? Tell me in the comments below. And if you're hooked on Margaret's story, show some love with a like and a subscribe. It truly helps us bring you more gripping tales like this one. Pinnacle Private Banking occupied the top floors of the city's newest glass tower. The lobby was all marble and whispered conversations. The directory listed names that sounded like old money and quiet power. The elevator to the 32nd floor was silent and swift. When the doors opened, I entered a reception area that looked less like a bank and more like a boutique hotel. Plush carpets, modern art, a receptionist with a smile so flawless it seemed engineered. "Good morning," she said. "How may I help you?" I held up the card, my hand trembling slightly. "I need to see Jonathan Maxwell, please." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I have this." Her eyes flicked to the card, and her demeanor shifted subtly. The professional warmth became something more alert, more attentive. "One moment, please." A quiet phone call later, a woman named Janet appeared and led me down a hushed hallway to a corner office with a breathtaking view. Behind a desk the size of my kitchen table stood a man in his 60s with silver hair and a calm, measured presence. But when Janet said, "Mr. Maxwell, this is Mrs. Finch," his composure cracked. He stood so quickly his chair rolled back. "Mrs. Finch, please come in. Please have a seat. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water? Anything at all?" The urgency in his voice was startling. "I'm fine, thank you," I said, positioning myself across from him. I handed him the card. "I found this among my husband Thomas's things. He passed away 3 years ago." Maxwell took the card as if it were a sacred relic. He studied it, then looked at me with an expression I couldn't decipher, a mix of awe and profound relief. "Mrs. Finch, before we proceed, I must verify your identity. Standard protocol for accounts of this nature." Accounts of this nature. What had Thomas done? He made copies of my ID, then sat back, steepling his fingers. "Mrs. Finch, you need to see this." He turned his computer monitor toward me. The numbers on the screen made no sense. I blinked, sure my eyes were failing. I counted the digits, left to right, twice. Account holder, Thomas Franklin Finch. Current balance, $47,362,891.42. $47 million. That can't be right, I whispered. "The balance is accurate, Mrs. Finch," Maxwell said, his voice gentle but firm. "Your husband maintained this relationship for 22 years. My husband was a mid-level manager at an HVAC supply company," I said, my voice thin. "We lived paycheck to paycheck. We worried about property taxes. We drove our cars until they died. This is impossible." "According to our records," Maxwell said, pulling a thick file from his desk, "Mr. Finch was a strategic financial consultant to several mid-sized manufacturing firms. But more importantly, he was an investment savant with a uniquely patient methodology." He opened the file. "He brought us his first investment in 2001, $85,000 from consulting fees. He had an almost preternatural sense for undervalued assets and emerging technologies." I stared at statements showing steady, astronomical growth. $85,000 became $200,000, then $1.2 million, then $8 million. A graph that looked like a mountain range. "He never told me," I said, the words echoing in the silent, rich space. "He let me clip coupons. He watched me stay up nights worrying about medical bills. Mrs. Finch, Maxwell leaned forward, his expression deeply earnest. He was protecting you. He was adamant that you were not to know about this account unless a specific set of circumstances occurred. He called them contingency triggers. What triggers? Maxwell consulted the file. Severe financial hardship, catastrophic medical need, or, he paused, family abandonment. The heir left the room. Family abandonment. Thomas had foreseen this. He had somehow looked into the future and seen me in this wheelchair, being turned away by David, and had prepared for it. He made specific provisions, Maxwell continued. A monthly allowance of $10,000 can be transferred to any account you designate, effective immediately. But that's merely the interest on the interest, Mrs. Finch. He pulled out more documents. Your husband didn't just invest in stocks. He acquired significant stakes in private companies. A chain of physical therapy clinics in the Southeast. A software firm that was just acquired. A sustainable packaging company. These entities generate approximately $2.8 million in annual dividends, which are automatically reinvested. I felt dizzy. While I was reusing tea bags and skipping medications, my husband's secret empire was generating millions. Why? The question was a plea. Why keep this from me? His notes indicate he believed money changes the essence of relationships, Maxwell said softly. He cherished the life you had together, the simplicity, the realness of it. He didn't want that to change. He wanted to ensure you could always have that life, or choose a different one, but from a position of unassailable security. I thought of all the small anxieties that had woven through our marriage like gray threads. All of them, it turned out, were unnecessary. A performance where only I didn't know the lines. There is one more directive regarding your son, David. My heart clenched. What about him? David Finch is to receive no information about this account or its related assets unless you explicitly authorize it. Your husband wrote, "My son has developed the morality of a spreadsheet. Margaret's security must be insulated from his awareness." He anticipated that David's care would be conditional. He saw our son for what he was, and he loved me enough to build a fortress to protect me from that truth until the moment I needed it most. What do I do now? The question felt both immense and trivial. Jonathan Maxwell smiled, a real, warm smile. Mrs. Finch, you do absolutely anything you want. The question is, what kind of life does Margaret Finch want to live? I looked out at the city, at the tiny cars and ant-like people. 24 hours ago, I was a pauper begging for crumbs. Now, I was a queen whose throne had been hidden in plain sight. And no one, especially not David and Chloe, had any idea. $47 million. A secret life. A son who turned her away. The pieces are on the board, but the game is just beginning. What would you do first if you were Margaret? Buy a mansion? Take a world cruise? Or would you do something else, something more strategic? Let me know what you think she should do in the comments. This is just the beginning of Margaret's journey. In the next response, we'll see her first moves, a shocking visit from a stranger, and the discovery of a trap Thomas set from beyond the grave. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. When we left Margaret, she was reeling from the discovery that her late husband Thomas had secretly amassed a fortune of $47 million. A fortune her son David knew nothing about as he was arranging for her to go into subsidized housing. The power had shifted, but the game was just getting dangerous. Because Thomas Finch didn't just leave money, he left a plan. And part of that plan was about to knock on Margaret's door. The cab ride home from Pinnacle Private Banking felt like traveling between dimensions. The folder of documents sat on my lap like a sleeping dragon, powerful, barely believable. Mrs. Henderson was weeding her flower bed. "Afternoon, Margaret." "Nice day for an outing," she called, her kindness a stark contrast to the calculation I'd just left behind in my son's driveway. "Just some errands," I called back, forcing a smile. If she only knew. Inside, I spread the documents on my worn kitchen table. The numbers didn't change. They were real. The Thomas the First knew, the man who wore sweaters with elbow patches and loved bad puns, was also a financial strategist of staggering skill. He'd quietly bought stakes in a chain of physical therapy clinics called New Horizons Mobility. The irony was so sharp it made me gasp. I'd been struggling to afford therapy, while my husband owned the clinics that provided it. And then I found it, a holding listed as Finch Family Ventures. Under its umbrella was a restaurant group, Maggie's Hearth. Maggie, his pet name for me and used for years. He'd named a chain of comfort food restaurants after me. 12 locations. I fired up my ancient laptop and looked it up. Maggie's Hearth, home-style meals at family prices. The reviews glowed. Feels like eating at grandma's. They never turn anyone away. While I'd been eating canned soup alone, my name was bringing comfort to thousands. My phone rang. David. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, it buzzed with a text. Mom, Ashley and I talked. We've found a great case manager who specializes in senior transitions. Her name is Sandra. She can see you tomorrow. This is a positive step. A positive step toward getting me neatly filed away. The anger that rose then was clean and hot. Not just at the lie, but at the condescension. I was now the richest woman he'd ever met, and he was sending me a social worker. I texted back. Thank you for arranging that. It's very helpful. His reply was instant. Great. I knew you'd see reason. Sandra will call to confirm. See reason. Meaning, accept your place as a problem to be managed. I picked up the phone and called Jonathan Maxwell. Mrs. Finch, what can I do for you? I'd like to activate the monthly allowance. And I'd like to see the complete organizational charts for New Horizons Mobility and Maggie's Hearth. Consider it done. The $10,000 will be in whichever account you specify by 5 p.m. today. I'll have the corporate portfolios couriered to you tomorrow. He paused. You sound different, Mrs. Finch. I feel different, Mr. Maxwell. I gave him my bank details, the nearly empty account at First Community Federal. I wondered what poor Helen Winters, my sweet, regular bank teller, would think when she saw that wire hit. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in years. I ordered dinner from the finest steakhouse in town and had it delivered. I ate filet mignon on my couch, with Robert's financial files spread around me like the pages of a thrilling, unbelievable novel. Sandra Morrison arrived precisely at 2 p.m. the next day. She was in her 40s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Her briefcase was practical, her handshake firm. Mrs. Finch, it's lovely to meet you. Your son spoke very highly of you. I'll bet he did, I thought. Sweet, confused, in over her head, Mom. Please sit. Can I get you tea? That would be wonderful. I wheeled into the kitchen, glad I'd hidden Thomas's files. The house needed to tell the right story. Struggling widow, limited means, helpless. Your son mentioned your accident and the accessibility issues here, Sandra began, pulling out forms. It's a very common story, unfortunately. The good news is the county has an excellent senior housing initiative. First-floor units, roll-in showers, community activities. Rent is income-based, about 30% of your Social Security. Yesterday, this would have been my lifeline. Today, it was a fascinating glimpse into the box David was trying to place me in. It sounds ideal, I said, playing my part. How long is the wait list? Typically 6 months. But given your immediate needs and your son's advocacy, I think I can expedite it. Perhaps 6 to 8 weeks. 6 weeks until David could wash his hands of the Margaret problem with a clear conscience. He'd found a solution. We spent an hour on paperwork. Sandra was thorough and genuinely compassionate. Mrs. Finch, she said finally, packing up. Can I ask something off the record? Your son seems keen to have this settled. Is there any support you were hoping for from him that you're not getting? She was perceptive. David has his own family to focus on, I said diplomatically. That doesn't mean you stop being his family, she said softly. I see this a lot. Children redefine help as outsource. I'm sorry if that's happening here. Her empathy almost undid me. The housing program sounds perfect, I said, steering back. After she left, I stared at the application. 6 weeks. I had a fortune and 6 weeks before everyone expected Margaret Finch to disappear quietly into a subsidized apartment. My phone buzzed. A notification from First Community Federal. Account alert, deposit received, $10,000. It was real. The first trickle from the hidden well. Margaret had just received the first shocking infusion of her hidden fortune. $10,000 appearing like magic in her near-empty account. She'd met the social worker her son had sent to bundle her off to subsidized housing, playing her part perfectly. But the true architects of her new reality were about to make their move. Because Thomas Finch hadn't just left money. He'd left a legal fortress, a sentinel at the gate, and a plan for war. And the general of that war was about to arrive at Margaret's door. The doorbell rang at precisely 9:17 a.m. Through the frosted glass, I saw the silhouette of a woman, tailored upright, emanating an energy that felt out of place on my humble porch. A sleek black sedan, so clean it seemed to repel dust, idled silently in my driveway. When I opened the door, I met a pair of intelligent, assessing gray eyes. The woman was in her early 60s, with silver hair swept into an elegant chignon. She wore a charcoal suit that whispered of bespoke tailoring and courtrooms, not department stores. In her hand was a leather folio thin enough to be dangerous. "Mrs. Margaret Finch?" Her voice was cool, clear, and left no room for doubt. "I am Victoria Thorne, of Thorne, Bishop and Locke. I represent the legal interests of the late Thomas Finch's private holdings. May I come in? What I have to discuss cannot be spoken of on a porch." The name of the firm meant nothing to me, but the authority in her tone was absolute. This was another emissary from Thomas's shadow world. I wheeled back, letting her in. She entered not with curiosity, but with a swift, analytical survey. Her gaze swept over the worn furniture, the medical supplies in the corner, the faded family photos, cataloging everything. She chose Thomas's old armchair, sitting with a posture that made the chair seem suddenly more dignified. "Mrs. Finch, I served as your husband's primary counsel for the last 12 years of his life," she began, placing the folio on her knees. "My firm was retained to design and maintain the legal architecture surrounding his assets, and to execute a specific set of protocols upon the occurrence of certain contingent events." "Events like my accident?" I asked, my throat dry. "The accident was a catalyst, but the triggering events, as defined by Thomas, are more precise. The material financial deprivation of Margaret, coupled with the demonstrable abandonment or hostile intent by primary familial relation. In plain English, you being broke and your son turning on you." She said it without a trace of emotion, as if reading a weather report. It made the words more devastating. "You've spoken with Jonathan Maxwell," she continued, "so you comprehend the financial scale. My purview is the protective framework, the shields, the legal tripwires, and the contingency plans regarding your son, David." A cold knot tightened in my stomach. "Tripwires? What does that mean?" "It means Thomas was a brilliant strategist who understood human nature, especially the avaricious strain of it." She opened the folio, extracting a slender, confidential report. "For the past 3 years, pursuant to Thomas's posthumous instructions and funded by a discretionary trust, I have engaged a private investigation firm to conduct quarterly reviews of David Finch's financial and legal activities." "You had him followed?" "Not followed. Reviewed. Credit reports, property records, court filings, business affiliations. Standard due diligence, as one would perform on a business partner." Thomas considered David a significant fiduciary risk. She handed me a summary page. "The findings are concerning. David has accumulated approximately $387,000 in gambling debt, primarily through high-risk online platforms and private markers. To service this, he has taken a second mortgage on his home, maxed out multiple lines of credit, and liquidated his 401k, incurring substantial penalties." The numbers swam before my eyes. The perfect life, the soccer practices, the shiny cars, all a performance funded by desperation and debt. No wonder the guest room was perpetually unavailable. They were one missed payment away from losing it all. "There's more," Victoria's voice cut through my thoughts. 18 days ago, David contacted 3 separate attorneys specializing in elder law. The consultations, which our investigator obtained summaries of, focused exclusively on the process for petitioning a court for guardianship or conservatorship over an elderly parent deemed incapacitated. He inquired specifically about the steps to gain control of finances and real property. The room seemed to tilt. It wasn't just neglect. It was a premeditated legal assault. He wasn't trying to avoid helping me. He was planning to take from me. He wanted to have me declared incompetent. He was exploring the most efficient legal pathway to control your assets, yes. "Of course," she added, a hint of dry ice in her tone. "He believes your assets consist of this house, which is paid off, and perhaps a small life insurance policy. He is operating under a profound misapprehension of your true circumstances. But if he had succeeded, he could have petitioned the court for control of everything. Every dollar Thomas hid for you." The betrayal was no longer a sharp stab. It was a deep, systemic poison, spreading through the memory of every birthday card, every Mother's Day call, every photo of him as a boy on my lap. "Thomas anticipated this possibility," Victoria said, her demeanor shifting from prosecutor to fellow strategist. "He considered it the paramount threat to your security. So, he didn't just build a wall. He built a maze with a single, devastating exit for anyone who tried to breach it. A trap." She laid out a new set of documents, each bearing notary seals and dense paragraphs of legalese. Over the past 5 years, through a series of shell limited liability companies and silent partnership agreements, Thomas, or rather, entities he controlled, became the secondary guarantor on all of David's major debt instruments. The primary mortgage, the home equity line, the auto leases, even the consolidated gambling debts held by a particular, assertive collection agency in Nevada. I tried to grasp it. My husband secretly guaranteed David's loans? Precisely. He provided the banks and lenders with a hidden backstop of impeccable credit, which is why they kept extending David money despite his deteriorating personal balance sheet. David never knew. The guarantees were structured with a unique, custom-drafted trigger clause. Her manicured finger traced the critical lines of text. The clause states that if the beneficiary of the guarantee, David, initiates, or is a party to conspiring to initiate, any legal proceeding against Margaret Finch that seeks to limit her autonomy, control her assets, or declare her incapacitated, then all guarantees become immediately and concurrently callable. Every single creditor can demand full, immediate repayment of the entire outstanding balance, with no grace period. The sheer, elegant cruelty of it took my breath away. Thomas had woven a financial net beneath his son, not to catch him if he fell, but to ensnare him if he attacked. He had given David the rope, shown him where to fashion the noose, and waited to see if he would use it. The total exposure, Victoria calculated, tapping a calculator app on her phone, is approximately $852,000. Due in full in certified funds within 30 days of trigger notification. Failure means immediate foreclosure, asset seizure, wage garnishment, and financial ruin. He would lose everything but the clothes on his back. And if David never tries to have me declared incompetent? I whispered. Then the guarantees remain dormant, a secret safety net he never knows exists. He continues his precarious dance, struggling with his debts, but he keeps his home, his lifestyle, his facade. Thomas's design gave him a clear, if unconscious, choice. Be a son, or become a predator and be destroyed by the mechanism of your own greed. I looked at the cold, precise language of the contracts. My Thomas, who grew tomatoes and read history books, had drafted financial landmines. Why tell me this now? Victoria Thorne's gaze met mine, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of something like fervor in her eyes. Because the trigger has been pulled, Mrs. Finch. David filed a petition for appointment of emergency temporary guardian in county probate court yesterday morning at 9:03 a.m. The court clerk time-stamped it. At 9:05 a.m., via an automated legal protocol I established, the trigger notifications were electronically served to every relevant financial institution and creditor. The process is irreversible. It was done. While I was eating steak and reading financial statements, my son had signed the paper that would obliterate his own life. He had chosen. A strange silence filled the room, broken only by the hum of the refrigerator. I felt no triumph, only a vast, hollow sadness and a terrifying new power. What happens now? My voice sounded distant, even to me. Now, Victoria said, closing the folio with a soft, definitive click, we monitor the unfolding consequences. And we prepare for Phase 2, reclamation and restructuring. Restructuring of what? Of your life, Mrs. Finch. From passive beneficiary to active principal. From defended to defender. She extracted a final, sealed envelope from her folio. It was heavy linen paper. My name was written on the front in Thomas's unmistakable, steady hand. But first, he wanted you to have this. His final contextual letter. My instructions for Phase 2 are contained in a separate memorandum. I advise you to read his words first. I'll wait. She stood and walked to the window, giving me the illusion of privacy as she looked out at my overgrown garden, a silent, formidable sentinel in my shabby living room. A letter from beyond the grave. A trap already sprung. Margaret holds the envelope, the physical weight of her husband's final secret. What could he possibly say to explain this labyrinth of deception and defense? And what does reclamation mean? Stay with us. The game has entered a new and deadly serious phase. If you were Margaret, would you open the letter right away? Or would you be too angry? Could you ever forgive a secret of this magnitude? Let's talk in the comments. And if you're captivated by this legal and emotional chess game, show your support with a like and a subscribe. It truly helps. My hands did not tremble. They were unnaturally still, as if the shock had frozen my nerves. I slid my thumb under the flap, breaking the seal with a soft tear. The paper was thick, creamy. I unfolded it, and the scent of Thomas's old sandalwood caddy, the one on his dresser I hadn't been able to empty, seemed to ghost from the page. My dearest Maggie, if you are reading this, then my greatest failure is complete. I have failed to raise a son who would protect you when I could not. I have failed to shield you from this moment of bitter understanding. For that, I am more sorry than you can ever know. Please hold that truth first. I am sorry. The secrets I kept were not walls against you, but moats around the treasure of our ordinary life. Our life, the budget talks over spaghetti, the saving for a leaky roof, the joy of a cheap bottle of wine on the patio. That was my real fortune. The money was just a tool. I feared that revealing it would change the precious algebra of US. It would attract the wrong kind of attention, from David, from friends, from the world, and make us suspicious of every kind word, every gesture. I could not bear to see our simple love weighed and measured. I watched David learn a different calculus. He learned to value the appearance of success over its substance, to see relationships as networks and people as assets or liabilities. I tried, Maggie. God knows I tried to teach him otherwise. But some lessons the heart must choose to learn. So I prepared. I built a fortress of wealth for you and hid the door. The trap for David is not vengeance. It is the most severe lesson I could design, that actions have inescapable consequences. If he had chosen compassion, the mechanism would have rusted away, unused and unknown. His choice to see you as a target activated it. He is not being punished by me, but by the reflection of his own intentions. Do not grieve for him in this moment. He has chosen his path. Grieve instead for the boy we loved and then let him go. Victoria Thorne is the most ruthlessly ethical person I have ever known. Trust her. Jonathan Maxwell is a steward of integrity. Trust him. But most importantly, Maggie, trust yourself. You now hold not just wealth, but agency. Use it. Use the foundation, you'll learn of it, to help those who are invisible, as you felt invisible. Use the businesses to create good jobs and real value. Build a life that is not a reaction to what was done to you, but a proclamation of who you are. You have a warrior's spirit beneath that gentle grace. It is time to let her breathe. I looked up. Victoria was still at the window, a patient silhouette. He called me a warrior, I said, my voice thick but clear. Victoria turned. A small, approving smile touched her lips. He did. Often, he said. Margaret weathers storms with a quietness fools mistake for weakness. But she is the eye of the hurricane, the still, unbreakable center. What is phase 2? I asked, folding the letter back into its envelope, placing it carefully in my lap like a talisman. Victoria returned to her chair, all business once more. Phase 2 has 2 components: legal reclamation and personal restructuring. Start with reclamation. Given David's triggered debts, foreclosure is inevitable. Thomas authorized the use of foundation funds to purchase any seized assets at fair market value. The primary asset is the house. He did not intend for you to live in it. He intended for you to decide its fate, a symbolic reclamation of what your son valued over you. My memorandum outlines the bidding process through a blind trust. I thought of that house, that temple to superficial success. I thought of Sandra Morrison's kindness, of the waiting list for senior housing. I know what I want to do with it, I said, the idea forming with crystalline certainty. I want to turn it into transitional housing for seniors in crisis. Call it Finch House. With proper support services, not just a roof. The kind Sandra provides. Victoria's smile widened, a real one this time. An elegant solution. Poetic, even. Thomas thought you might choose something like that. He established a separate charitable trust with seed funding for social enterprise repurposing of reclaimed assets. I'll begin the paperwork. And personal restructuring? That, Mrs. Finch, is about you stepping into your role. It involves financial education beyond the monthly allowance. It involves meeting the principles of the businesses you now control. The New Horizons clinics, Maggie's Hearth restaurants. It involves understanding the full scope of the Thomas Finch Foundation, which has been quietly funding literacy and health initiatives for a decade. It involves security assessments, given your changed profile. And it involves deciding what, if any, relationship you wish to have with David once the dust settles. She made it sound like a curriculum, a syllabus for becoming the person Thomas believed I could be. Where do we start? I asked, my voice firmer than it had been in years. We start by letting the financial process work. David will be in contact soon, likely in a state of extreme panic. You must be prepared. Then, we have your first meeting with the board of the foundation. They've been expecting you. A plan within a plan. A legacy hidden inside a secret. Margaret is no longer a pawn in someone else's game. She's being handed the rulebook to a game she never knew she was playing. But first, the first domino Thomas tipped over has to finish its fall. And the sound it makes will be the sound of a son's world breaking. The unraveling of David Finch's life was not a slow fade. It was a detonation. Victoria's predictions were precise. The calls began that afternoon. My phone, usually silent, lit up like a panic room alarm. First, a bewildered voicemail. "Mom, call me back. Something's wrong with the bank. They're talking about calling my loan. That's not possible." An hour later, a more frantic one. "Mom, it's not just the bank. It's the car lease company. And some other people have called. They're saying Dad guaranteed things? Did you know about this? You have to call me." By evening, the tone shifted to accusation. "What did you do? Did you talk to a lawyer? Is this because of the guardian thing? That was for your own good. You need to fix this." Chloe's singular text was a masterpiece of blame shifting. "Helen, your family is under attack. Whatever misunderstanding you've caused needs to be cleared up now. We are your family." I did not respond to any of it. I followed Victoria's first rule of engagement. Silence is a weapon. Let the consequences speak. I spent the time learning. Victoria sent over dossiers on the New Horizons mobility centers. I learned Thomas hadn't just invested. He designed their pro bono mandate. I reviewed the operational reports for Maggie's Hearth, seeing the Pay It Forward program already in place. My name had been doing good in the world while I slept on a couch. The next morning, the doorbell rang. I saw David's car, door hanging open in his haste. He stood on my porch, unshaven, his eyes wide with a terror I'd never seen in him, not even as a child. Chloe was beside him, her face a mask of fury and fear, her perfect hair disheveled. I opened the door but didn't move my wheelchair back. "Mom!" The word was a gasp. "They're going to take everything. The house. The cars. They're demanding over $800,000 in 30 days. I don't have that. I don't understand what you want me to do, David. Tell them it's a mistake. The guarantees, they must be forgeries. Dad would never have done this without telling me. Your father," I said slowly, "handled many things without telling people. Apparently, he was an excellent judge of what they might do with the information." Chloe pushed forward. "Margaret, this is nonsense. You need to call your lawyer and withdraw whatever you filed against the guardianship. This is clearly retaliation. Once you drop it, this will all stop. So, you confirm you filed to have me declared incompetent?" I asked, looking only at David. He flushed, splotchy red and white. It wasn't like that. It was protective. "You're not capable, Mom. You withdrew $10,000. Where did you even get that? You're being manipulated." "The $10,000, I said, is a monthly allowance. From my husband." They both stared, confusion cutting through the panic. "What are you talking about?" David spat. "Your father left me more than this house, David. He left me a fully funded life. The $10,000 is a drop in the bucket. He left me control of businesses, a foundation, investments. He left me $47 million. The number hung in the air between us, monstrous, unbelievable. Chloe actually took a physical step back, as if pushed by the force of it. David's mouth opened and closed, no sound coming out. The arithmetic of his betrayal was suddenly horrifyingly clear. He had tried to steal the change from a pauper's cup, only to find out the cup was connected to Fort Knox. He was worth. David couldn't finish. "And he knew you," I continued, my voice chillingly calm. "He knew the man you'd become. So he built a firewall. The guarantees weren't to help you. They were a test. A single, simple rule. Leave your mother alone. You couldn't do it. You triggered the failure mode yourself." The realization broke over David's face. The understanding that his father had not just predicted this, but engineered it. That his own greed had been the weapon turned against him. "He set me up." The words were a whisper of utter devastation. "He gave you a choice with clear consequences. You looked at your disabled mother and saw a liability to manage or an asset to seize. You never saw me. So, you get the consequences, David. Not the money." Chloe found her voice a shrill, broken thing. "You vicious old woman. You're destroying your own son." I finally looked directly at her. "No, Chloe. You and the gambling and the greed destroyed him. I am just the witness your father appointed. And as of today, I am the purchaser of your foreclosed home. I'm turning it into a shelter for people whose families actually love them." The finality of it, the poetic justice, was a physical blow. David crumpled, sinking onto my porch step, head in his hands. Chloe stared at me with pure, undiluted hatred before grabbing his arm and pulling him toward the car, sputtering about lawyers and appeals. I closed the door. This time, I didn't watch them drive away. I wheeled to Thomas's office, to the dossier on the Finch Foundation. It was time to meet my new responsibilities. The confrontation is over. The truth is out. David is broken on the wheel of his own design. But is this the end for him? And what does it mean for Margaret to truly step into the empire Thomas built? The story isn't ending, it's evolving. From victim to benefactor. From mother to magnate. The most compelling chapter is yet to come. My first official meeting was not in a boardroom, but in the sunny conservatory of the Pinnacle Private Banking building. Jonathan Maxwell had arranged it. Seated around a glass table were 3 people. Victoria Thorne, a man in his 50s with a kind, earnest face named Alan Chin, the executive director of the Thomas Finch Foundation, and a woman with sharp, compassionate eyes, Dr. Evelyn Reed, who ran the New Horizons Mobility Clinic network. Margaret, Jonathan began, this is your brain trust. They've been operating Thomas's charitable and business ventures for years, awaiting the day you would join them. Alan Chin spoke first, his voice warm. Mrs. Finch, it is an honor. For the past 8 years, the foundation has focused on 2 areas: adult literacy initiatives and preventative health screenings in underserved communities. We operate on a $1.2 million annual budget, funded by the trust. Our work is quiet but impactful. He slid a tablet toward me, showing images of community centers, people learning to read, mobile health vans. My husband did this? I asked, my throat tight. His directive was specific. Address the roots of poverty, not just the symptoms. Give people the tools to build their own dignity, Alan replied. Dr. Reed spoke next. New Horizons has 12 clinics. Thomas's investment came with a mandate. 20% of all patient hours are to be provided pro bono or on a severe sliding scale. He called it the Margaret Mandate. He said, no one should be immobilized by pain and poverty. She looked at me. We have a waiting list for those pro bono hours. With your permission and potentially increased funding, we could expand, buy more equipment, hire more therapists. I looked at the faces around the table. They weren't sycophants or money grubbers. They were missionaries. Thomas had hired people who shared his hidden heart. Alan, I said, my voice finding its new register, firm, curious. What's the one project you've always wanted to launch but couldn't due to funding? He didn't hesitate. A digital literacy bus. Mobile tech labs that teach seniors and low-income adults essential computer skills. How to apply for jobs online, access telehealth, connect with family. The digital world is leaving them behind. Budget it. Make it happen, I said. I turned to Dr. Reed. Eliminate the waiting list for pro bono therapy. Hire the staff. Find bigger spaces. Let's make the Margaret Mandate 30%. And I want to visit the clinic closest to my old neighborhood next week. There was a moment of stunned silence, then Alan grinned. Yes, ma'am. Dr. Reed nodded, a spark of excitement in her eyes. We'll have proposals for you within 48 hours. Victoria, who had been observing silently, finally spoke. Phase 2, restructuring is now fully engaged. You're not just approving their plans, Margaret. You're leading. My visit to a Maggie's Hearth was incognito. I went to the location nearest my old home, the one in a modest strip mall. Using my cane, I walked slowly from the car, a new, accessible van with a driver Victoria had vetted. The smell hit me first, roast chicken, baking bread, cinnamon. It was the smell of my kitchen, of our home, multiplied 100-fold. The interior was warm, with checkered tablecloths and bookshelves with used paperbacks. It was busy. Elderly couples, young families, a man in work clothes eating alone. I took a small table and ordered the meatloaf platter. The waitress, a young woman with a trainee badge named Sophia, was patient and kind, not rushing me as I fumbled with my cane. When the food came, I took a bite, and I wept. Silent tears streamed down my face. It tasted exactly like my mother's recipe, the one I'd made for Thomas and David for decades. Thomas hadn't just named it after me. He'd somehow replicated the taste of my care. The manager, a vibrant woman in her 40s named Rosa, noticed my distress and hurried over. Ma'am, is everything all right? Is the food not to your liking? We can replace it on the house. It's perfect, I managed, dabbing my eyes. It tastes like home. It's a Maggie's Hearth. Rosa's expression softened. That's the best compliment we could get. That was Mr. Finch's whole idea. A place that feels like a grandmother's kitchen, where everyone is welcome. She lowered her voice. We also never turn anyone away. There's a code. If someone asks for the Sunday special, they get a hot meal, no questions asked. Mr. Finch prepaid for 20 Sunday specials a day at every location in perpetuity. He'd thought of everything. The hidden charity, woven into the fabric of the business. Rosa, I said, making a decision. My name is Margaret Finch. Thomas was my husband. Rose's hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes grew huge. "Oh my goodness. Mrs. Finch. We never thought we'd meet you. He spoke of you so often. You were his North Star. He'd tell us at the manager meetings. Could we talk?" I asked. "I'd like to hear everything. And I have some ideas." In her small office, surrounded by invoices and schedules, Rosa told me about the staff, many of whom were single parents or going back to school, about the local farms they sourced from, about the regulars who came for the company as much as the food. "I want to expand the Sunday special program," I said. "I want to call it Thomas's Table, double the number of meals. And I want to start a culinary training program within the restaurants for at-risk youth. A real career path." Rose's eyes shone. "Mr. Finch said you'd have ideas. He said, when Maggie finally takes the reins, just get out of her way." Margaret is no longer discovering her husband's legacy. She's now actively shaping it, imprinting it with her own compassion and vision. But a legacy isn't just about grand gestures. It's built in small rooms with real people. And as she builds, the past isn't finished with her yet. A letter arrives not from a lawyer, but from a broken son. The first Finch house opened in David's former home. Sandra Morrison had worked miracles. The stark, minimalist decor was replaced with comfortable, durable furniture. The media room was now a community lounge. Sandra had hired a part-time social worker and a handyman. The first 2 residents were moving in, an elderly veteran named Walt whose family was overseas, and a woman named Beatrice who had been evicted after her husband's death. I attended the small, private opening. As I stood in the transformed living room, the same space where Chloe had once shooed away my grandchildren, I felt a profound sense of peace. The house was being used for good. It was a form of absolution. That evening, back in my new, accessible condo with its wide doorways and city views, my assistant, a poised young woman named Maya, another of Victoria's impeccable hires, brought me the day's mail. On top was a plain, handwritten envelope. The return address was David's rundown apartment building. My heart hammered. I almost didn't open it. But Thomas's words echoed, "Grieve for the boy we loved, and then let him go." Perhaps this was part of letting go. I opened it. "Mom, I'm not writing to ask for anything. I know there's nothing left to ask for, and I don't deserve it anyway. I've been in the gambling addiction program for 3 months now. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. They make you look at yourself at the wreckage. And my God, the wreckage. I lost Chloe. She took the kids and moved to her parents in Ohio. I see them every other weekend in a park near their new house. I'm a visitor in their lives. I don't blame her. She married a liar. I lied to her about the debt, about everything. I was living a cartoon of a successful man. I think about that day in your driveway every single day. I see your face. Not angry, just defeated. I did that. I looked at my own mother, who worked double shifts to help me buy my first car, who held me when I had nightmares, and I saw a problem to be solved. A liability on my personal balance sheet. I am so ashamed I can barely breathe sometimes. The counselor says I have to make amends where possible, but that some damage can't be fixed. I understand that what I did to you is in that category. I am not writing for forgiveness. I am writing to say, simply and clearly, I was wrong. I was cruel. I was a coward. And I am sorry. I heard through a realtor friend what you did with the house, turning it into a shelter. It's the most beautiful, terrible thing I could imagine. It fits you. It always should have been a place of sanctuary. I am working as an assistant project manager for a small remodeling company. It's honest work with my hands. I come home tired and clean. It's a start. I don't expect a reply. I just needed you to know that I see it all now. The man Dad knew I could become, and the man I chose to be instead. I'm trying every day to bridge that gap. For myself and for my kids. David. I read it 4 times. The defensiveness was gone. The entitlement was gone. All that was left was the raw, ugly truth and a fragile strand of hope. This wasn't the David from my porch. This was someone new, forged in the fire of his own consequences. I did not reply that day. Or the next. The letter sat on my desk as I went about my new life. Board meetings, clinic visits, planning sessions for the next Finch house. But I found myself thinking of him not with fury, but with a distant, aching pity. Thomas's trap had done its job. It hadn't just destroyed David's false life. It had, perhaps, created the conditions for a real one to begin. A genuine apology. Not a plea for money, but a confession of failure. This changes everything, and yet changes nothing. The damage is done. But can a new, different relationship be built on the ruins of the old? Margaret holds this fragile possibility in her hands. And as she contemplates it, her public life is about to take a dramatic turn. What would you do? Would you ever let David back into your life, even at a distance? Or is some betrayal too deep? The comments are open for your wisdom. Victoria Thorne called me, her tone uncharacteristically wry. Margaret, you've made the Chronicles Society page. Mystery philanthropist behind Finch House revealed. They have a photo of you leaving the clinic opening last week. The short article was a mix of fact and speculation. It mentioned my modest background, Thomas's previously unknown acumen, and my sudden low-profile philanthropic surge. It ended with a question. Is the reclusive Mrs. Finch the city's newest power player? I don't want this, I told Victoria, a flutter of old anxiety in my chest. Too late, she said, not unkindly. You are one now. Power attracts attention. The choice is whether you are shaped by it, or you shape it. I recommend the latter. A controlled, deliberate public appearance can channel the narrative. She proposed I give a short, scripted speech at the fundraiser for the new digital literacy bus project, the Allentown initiative now named the Thomas Finch Connectory. The night of the fundraiser, held in the atrium of the main library, I was terrified. I wore a simple, elegant navy dress. My hair was styled. I held onto my cane for courage, not just support. The room was full of wealthy donors, community leaders, and press. When I was introduced, I walked slowly to the podium, the room respectfully silent. The lights were bright. I saw Alan's encouraging smile, Victoria's slight nod. My husband, Thomas, I began, my voice amplified, steady, believed that the most powerful thing you can give someone is not a handout, but a tool. A tool to read, to heal, to connect, to build their own dignity. I spoke for just 5 minutes. I talked about the fear of being left behind, of becoming invisible. I talked about the Finch House not as charity, but as community. I did not mention David. I did not mention the fortune. I ended with Thomas's phrase, "We are not defined by what we keep, but by what we give away with a full heart." The applause was warm, sustained. As I stepped away, an older woman, a well-known arts patron, gripped my arm. "My dear," she said, her eyes bright, "you're not what I expected at all. You have substance. Welcome." In that moment, I understood. This wasn't about fame. It was about influence. I could use this platform, this unwanted attention, to shine a light on the waiting lists at the clinics, on the seniors in need of housing, on the digital divide. Margaret Finch, the invisible woman, could make the invisible seen. A month later, I asked Maya to mail a simple, typed note to David's apartment. It contained no personal message, just a time, an address for a park bench near the first Finch house, and the words, "You may join me if you wish." I arrived early, watching the ducks on the pond. I wondered if he would come. I wasn't sure what I would say. He came. He looked thinner, older, but his eyes were clearer. He wore clean work clothes. He stood a few feet away, hesitant. "Mom." "David." "Sit." He sat on the far end of the bench, a careful distance between us. "Thank you for the letter," I said. He nodded, staring at his hands. "Thank you for reading it. I read it many times." We sat in silence for a long while, watching a mother push a stroller on the path. "The work you're doing, the house, it's good," he finally said. "It's necessary," I replied. "Sandra, the woman you sent me, runs it. She's remarkable." He flinched at the mention of his past action, but didn't deflect. "I'm glad she's helping you." "She's not helping me," I corrected gently. "We're helping others. There's a difference." He absorbed that. "Yes, there is." Another silence, less charged. "How are your children?" I asked. A real, sad smile touched his lips. Confused. Angry at me. "I'm trying to just be present. No promises, no lies. Just there. That's the foundation," I said. "Everything else is built on that." We talked for 20 minutes. Not about the past, not about money. He talked about his job, about learning to drywall. I talked briefly about the clinics. It was stilted, painfully polite, but it was a conversation. It was a thread. As we stood to leave, he said, "I don't expect. I know we can't go back." "No," I agreed. "We can't. But could we maybe sometimes do this? Just sit." I looked at my son. Not the successful phantom, not the desperate predator, but the broken, trying man before me. "You can write. And perhaps, in a few months, we can sit again." It wasn't forgiveness. It was a ceasefire. It was an observation post on the no man's land between us. For now, it was enough. A fragile peace. A tentative thread. Some bridges, once burned, can never be fully rebuilt. But sometimes, from the opposite banks, you can learn to wave, to acknowledge each other's existence without crossing over. Margaret has found that place. And from that place of hard-won peace, she is ready to fully embrace her future. 1 year later, to the day, I stood on the rooftop terrace of the new Finch Community Hub. It combined a New Horizons clinic, a Maggie's Hearth with a full-scale training kitchen, and offices for the foundation, all under one roof in a revitalizing neighborhood. The ribbon cutting was over. The crowd of staff, residents, and press had drifted downstairs to the celebration. I stayed up, looking out over the city lights. Thomas's voice wasn't a memory anymore. It was a part of my own thoughts. "What will you build, Maggie?" I had built this. Not alone, but as the North Star he always called me. The fixed point around which good people could align and do good work. Victoria joined me, handing me a glass of sparkling water. "He'd be unbearably proud, you know." "I know," I said, smiling. "And he'd be hiding it behind some terrible pun about cornerstones or laying a foundation." Victoria laughed. "Exactly. Jonathan Maxwell stepped out too. The endowment is fully funded in perpetuity, Margaret. The work will continue no matter what. That was the point, wasn't it?" I said. Not a flash of charity, but a constant, steady light. Later, back in my condo, I opened my laptop. There was an email from David. Subject, progress report. It was a photo of a small, perfectly finished bathroom he had tiled himself with the message, "First solo project passed inspection. Thought you'd like to see." I wrote back just 2 words. "Well done." It was not a relationship. It was a connection. Thin, careful, but real. It was what it could be, and I had made peace with that. I walked to my balcony without my cane, my hips stiff but strong. The city glittered, vast and full of hidden stories, hidden pain, hidden strength. I was no longer one of the hidden. I was a finder, a builder. Margaret Finch. Thomas's final gift wasn't the money. It was the revelation of my own strength. It was the understanding that the woman who endured the loneliness, the humiliation, the betrayal, that woman was the same one who could command a boardroom, inspire a staff, and transform a legacy of secret wealth into a public legacy of open-hearted grace. He was right. I was the eye of the hurricane, the still unbreakable center. And from this center, I would continue to build. And so we leave Margaret Finch here on her balcony, looking at a city she is helping to heal. Her story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, to the power of love that plans beyond the grave, and to the stunning truth that it is never, ever too late to become the person you were meant to be. If this story moved you, inspired you, or gave you chills, please let us know. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. It's amazing to see this community come together from every corner of the globe. This channel is dedicated to stories of hidden strength and stunning turnarounds. If you want more, please show your support. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe with notifications on. We have so many more incredible stories to tell. Thank you for watching. Remember, your current circumstances are not your final destination. Your breakthrough might be closer than you think. Until next time.